Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
We have such a good one for you today.
We really do. Because how do you prepare a team to face, what is probably the most terrifying 12-month schedule in professional rugby history?
Yeah, you definitely don't just take them straight out to the training field, that's for sure.
Exactly. You put them on a video call, which I know sounds totally wild. But before we get into the absolutely fascinating psychology of how a world championship team is using virtual meetings to prepare for physical warfare, I need you to do something for me.
Just a quick favor.
Right. Please subscribe to Rugby Obsession. It is, without a doubt, the best way to stay connected to these deep dives so you never miss out when we break down the biggest stories, the tactics, and, the hidden mechanics in the game.
And today is a massive one.
Oh, it's huge. We are looking at this incredibly detailed March 17th, 2026 Planet Rugby article. It's by Lewis Chapman-Coombe, and it covers the Springboks' latest alignment camp.
It's just a phenomenal piece of reporting.
It really is. And the mission today for you and us is to uncover the blueprint of a championship team. We are going to look at exactly how they build and maintain this world-beating culture all across the globe.
Which is such a crazy case study in modern sports management.
Yeah.
Because, when you are managing a team that is spread across multiple continents,
Right.
and they're playing in different leagues with completely different stylistic demands, the physical preparation is actually the easy part.
Wait, really? The easy part?
Yeah, relatively speaking, the real challenge is total mental alignment. You have to synchronize the minds of these players before you can ever hope to synchronize their bodies on the pitch.
Wow. Well, let's look at the sheer logistics of what they are attempting here, because the facts from the source material are just staggering. Rassie Erasmus has named a 21-man group for a virtual alignment camp.
Virtual?
Yeah, entirely online. And this is following up on an initial 49-player in-person camp that was strictly for South Africa-based players.
Right, so this new group of 21 is made up entirely of guys based overseas.
Which means you are dealing with athletes scattered across Europe, Japan, and beyond.
Oh, the time zones alone. They are operating on totally different schedules, playing under vastly different club coaching philosophies,
Right, they're absorbing different tactical habits every single weekend.
Exactly.
So they are trying to organize what essentially sounds like a high-stakes corporate remote sync. They're navigating those time zones, running 2 separate sessions just to get everyone on a call.
Which is exhausting just to think about.
But I have to stop you right there and push back on the core concept a bit. Because rugby is not a board game.
No, definitely not.
It's a violent, highly instinctual, full-contact sport, right? It relies so heavily on muscle memory.
Absolutely.
You cannot drill, like, a dominant tackle technique or perfect the timing of a scrum engagement over a Zoom link. So doesn't this heavy reliance on a virtual camp risk turning these guys into overthinkers on the pitch?
That is a completely natural skepticism. When you hear virtual and rugby in the same sentence, it sounds like a total contradiction.
It really does.
But if we look closely at Erasmus's explanation in the article, this camp is absolutely not about the physical mechanics of a tackle.
Okay.
It is entirely about the macro plan. It's about cognitive load. Erasmus states really clearly that the camp is designed to expose players to the expectations, the core values, and the granular tactical detail required at the international level.
So instead of trying to upgrade the hardware, like their physical conditioning, he is running a massive software diagnostic check.
Oh, that is a perfect way to look at it, yes.
He wants to see whose internal processor can still handle the speed and complexity of the modern Springbok game.
Precisely. Because think about what actually happens in one of these virtual alignment camps. They aren't just sitting there passively listening to a lecture.
Right, it's not a webinar.
Exactly. They are doing intensive film review together. They are breaking down situational walkthroughs, establishing a shared vocabulary.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, like if a coach uses a specific term for a defensive fold, every single player on that call needs to immediately visualize the exact same movement.
Right. Because if you wait until the first official June training camp to establish that shared language or to explain the overarching strategy, you are wasting incredibly valuable time on the grass.
You're burning daylight. By doing this virtually in March, Erasmus ensures that when those boots finally touch the turf in June, everyone already has the playbook downloaded into their heads.
But a virtual playbook is completely useless if you don't have the right mix of minds on the call to execute it.
Oh, for sure.
And looking at who Erasmus actually invited to this 21-man session, I mean, he is taking a massive, calculated gamble here.
The roster itself tells a fascinating story.
It really does. The caliber of the names on this list, it just cannot be overstated. We are talking about 16 World Cup winners in this 21-man mix.
16. That's incredible.
You've got the absolute heavy hitters of the sport. Cheslin Kolbe, Faf de Klerk, Peter Steph Dutoit, Malcolm Marks. These are the guys who form the titanium backbone of the Springboks' recent dominance.
The core of the core.
Right. But right alongside those legends, Rassie has called up two completely uncapped debutants, Carlü Sadie and JJ van der Mescht.
Which is a huge deal for those two.
Massive. Plus, we are seeing the return of Herschel Jantjies, who, let's remember, last played a test in 2023, and Lukhanyo M., who last played in 2024.
It is a very deliberate, highly engineered blend. You've got the old guard, the returning veterans, and entirely fresh blood.
But help me understand the psychological play here, because if you have a virtual room full of 16 guys who have literally won the highest prize in the sport, why inject completely uncapped rookies and players who have been out of the test picture for years into such a vital high-level strategy session? Like, if I'm looking at this from the outside, bringing uncapped guys into that environment feels almost like a tactical threat. It feels like Erasmus is using them to say to the veterans, hey, nobody's seat is safe.
I mean, there is definitely an element of keeping the veterans on their toes. But if we connect this to the broader strategy Erasmus outlines in the source, it serves a much more functional purpose too.
Okay, how so?
Well, for the uncapped players, Sadie and van der Mescht, Erasmus explicitly states they are being rewarded for performing exceptionally well for their clubs this season.
Oh, right.
This is a massive broadcast to every single South African player operating anywhere in the world. He's saying the national coaches are watching, and if your club form is undeniable, the door to the Springboks is wide open.
So it's basically, you play well, you get the invite to the most exclusive tactical meeting in World Rugby.
Exactly. And it elevates the standard of the entire domestic and overseas player pool because they know meritocracy is alive and well.
That's brilliant.
Now, regarding Jantjies and guys who have been there before but have been out of the mix, this goes right back to your software analogy.
Right.
Erasmus notes that because they last played for the team a while ago, they need to be brought up to speed on how the team's systems have evolved.
Because the game definitely doesn't stand still.
Not at all. The tactics the Springboks used to win in 2023 are not the exact tactics they will use in 2026.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The key pillars, Erasmus mentions, which usually refers to the non-negotiable foundations of their defense, like how they organize their spacing, who shoots out of the line, how they secure the breakdown. Those have likely been tweaked.
Right, you're constantly optimizing.
Even the attacking shapes, like the pod formations they use to carry the ball into contact, those evolve based on new global law interpretations.
Wow.
So even seasoned elite veterans like Jantjies and Am need to relearn the updated system.
Right.
They cannot rely on their past achievements to guarantee they know what to do tomorrow.
That is such a crucial insight. It proves that institutional knowledge only matters if it is constantly updated.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, before we look at the absolute gauntlet of a schedule they're preparing this updated system for, I want to quickly remind you to subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
Yes, please do.
We absolutely love breaking down these hidden tactical masterclasses, and we want you along for the ride. In fact, I would really love to hear from you directly.
We always read the comments.
Always. Drop your thoughts in the comments on these specific roster call-ups. Are you as excited as I am to see Jantjies and M brought back into the tactical fold? Or do you think the focus should, I don't know, solely be on the uncapped youth? Let us know.
The fan reaction to seeing those legacy names back on the board will certainly be something to monitor.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, we have to look at the why behind all this meticulous, almost obsessive preparation in March.
Yeah, the schedule.
Right, the virtual sessions, the time zone juggling, the integration of rookies with World Cup winners, it is all happening because of what is waiting for the Springboks later in the year.
It's brutal.
The 2026 test season schedule is, quite frankly, terrifying.
It is arguably one of the most unrelenting tests of physical depth and cognitive endurance a rugby team could ever face.
Let's actually analyze the toll of this schedule. In July, they kick off with the Nations Championship, which means back-to-back tests against England, Scotland, and Wales.
Heavy hitters right out of the gate.
Then they roll straight into August for the greatest rivalry tour against the All Blacks.
Incredible.
Followed by a standalone test against Argentina. September brings another standalone test against Australia.
It doesn't stop.
And then As if the squad wouldn't be battered enough, November brings another nations championship window with clashes against Italy, France, and Ireland.
I mean, the density of elite opponents there is staggering. You're looking at practically 0 rotation weeks where you can easily rest your primary starters.
And the stylistic whiplash is what terrifies me the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are going from the heavy set-piece trench warfare that you typically face against Northern Hemisphere teams like England or Wales.
Right.
And then literally weeks later, you have to pivot your entire defensive structure to handle the chaotic, high-tempo, open field running of the All Blacks.
Which is completely different.
You cannot physically train a squad to perfectly execute both of those game plans simultaneously.
Which is precisely why this March virtual camp is the linchpin of their entire year.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, when you are facing that level of opposition week in and week out, traversing the globe and constantly shifting time zones, your training weeks during the actual season are mostly going to be focused on physical recovery.
Right, keeping guys healthy.
Exactly. You do not have the luxury of spending 3 days in June walking a rookie like Mescht through the basic defensive pillars.
Because if you are still introducing yourselves and your playbook in June, and England is waiting for you in July, you have already lost.
You are totally dead in the water. The cognitive load of switching from a Northern Hemisphere game plan to a Southern Hemisphere game plan is immense.
Yeah.
By laying the mental foundation now, Erasmus ensures that during those brutal transition weeks in August or November, the players aren't learning new concepts.
Right, they're just pulling it from memory.
They are simply recalling information they have already processed and debated in these virtual sessions. They can immediately start operating at a high intensity on the training pitch because the mental blueprint is already locked in.
Which brings us to a fascinating secondary narrative in this article. It feels like the rest of the world is starting to take notes on this level of preparation.
Oh, they definitely are.
It isn't just South African fans who are noticing Erasmus's brilliance anymore. His reputation is rippling across the entire rugby ecosystem.
He's on another level.
He really is. He's operating on a completely different psychological level than his peers.
He has undeniably shifted the global coaching landscape, not just in how teams play, but in how they are managed off the field.
And the source material highlights some incredible details in its related news section that back this up. For instance, Eddie Jones, a man who is notoriously stingy with compliments.
To say the least.
Yeah, he usually prefers to throw verbal grenades at his opponents, but he has openly hailed Erasmus as a rugby guru. And he did this while admitting he didn't even enjoy all of Erasmus's coaching innovations.
Receiving that kind of unprompted praise from a veteran tactician like Jones is so rare.
Right.
It speaks volumes about the respect Erasmus commands in the inner circles of the sport.
And it is not just his peers he's influencing. Within his own camp, Rassie managed to convince Springbok prop Frans Malherbe to completely shelve his retirement plans.
Which is huge for their front row stability.
Massive. And on top of all that, and this is the detail that really caught my eye, Erasmus took the time to publicly warn people against panicking over England head coach Steve Borthwick's sudden dip in form.
That is so interesting.
Let's analyze that Borthwick defense for a second. Why would you publicly and unprompted defend the coach of a major rival who is currently struggling? It feels like an absolute masterclass in media manipulation and mind games.
Oh, it is a brilliant piece of psychological management. If we break down the mechanics of media pressure in sports, when a team like England is struggling, a siege mentality often develops.
The us versus the world thing.
Exactly. And that narrative can actually galvanize a struggling squad and make them incredibly dangerous and unpredictable.
Right.
By publicly defending Borthwick, Erasmus completely diffuses that narrative. He removes the hostility.
He essentially kills them with kindness.
Yes, exactly. And furthermore, by offering measured, sympathetic support, he shifts the spotlight and the pressure entirely back onto the English media and their own internal expectations.
Wow.
He creates a distraction over there, while his own Springbok squad quietly goes about their virtual preparation in the background.
So he is managing his own players by retaining vital institutional knowledge, like keeping a veteran scrum anchor like Malherbe engaged, and simultaneously managing the psychology of the opposition's media.
He really is.
He is controlling every single variable on the board.
Understanding the broader landscape of world rugby is what allows Erasmus to keep the Springboks a step ahead. He recognizes that championships aren't just won in the 80 minutes on the pitch.
No.
They are won in the press conferences, in the retention of key personnel, and in the strategic deployment of information. That is the true definition of a rugby guru.
It is absolute genius, and it brings us to our core takeaway for today's deep dive. The Springboks are clearly leaving absolutely nothing to chance.
Something at all.
They are using highly innovative virtual methods to seamlessly blend fresh, uncapped talent with seasoned World Cup winners.
Yeah.
And they are doing this to ensure their tactical software is fully updated, making them mentally bulletproof ahead of an incredibly brutal 2026 test season that will demand every ounce of their physical and cognitive endurance.
It is a masterclass in foresight. They are literally solving the problems of November in March.
I would love to know what you think about all of this. Please, drop your thoughts in the comments.
We want to hear from you.
What do you make of this 2026 master plan? Do you think these virtual alignment camps are the future of international sports?
It's a great question.
And are these uncapped additions the secret weapon the Springboks need for this gauntlet of a season? Let us know.
And as you think about those tactical questions, I want to leave you with a broader thought to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
If a professional sports squad containing 16 World Cup winner players who have already reached the absolute pinnacle of their profession, who have nothing left to prove physically,
Right.
if they still require deliberate, dedicated time just to align on values and team culture before they even touch a rugby ball.
Yeah.
What does that say about the unseen mental foundations of success in our own daily lives and careers?
Oh.
If the best in the world can't skip the fundamentals of alignment, how often are we neglecting them in our own teams?
That is a phenomenal point to end on. Make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to listening to our next episode.